Attention bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Good day, Yodelers. I am Japheth, and I am here with
Peter.
Jackie!
And we are the Matterhorn Yodelers.
Yodels.
And what brings us here today is the live-action Mulan movie review.
Yay! I was hyped for this movie when they announced it.
Were you?
Yeah!
I was too. You know, with the live-action movies, I had been very hesitant on most of them. This one I was actually excited for because it didn't feel like it was going to be the same exact movie.
Yes, I figured they would. In the end, they told us
And
before the movie was released that it would be different than the actual movie.
So.
Okay. So, before we get into our review of it, we're going to give a non-spoiler recommendation. It will be a yay or nay, and then that will give the listener who hasn't watched it, want to watch it without our, views of the movie, a chance to...
Because I believe by the time this episode comes out, it should be full access to everyone on Disney Plus.
Yes.
If not the week of. I don't remember exactly when.
Full access on Disney Plus.
By the time this comes out. So, you have the ability to watch it if you have Disney Plus.
Which you should, because you should be watching The Mandalorian.
That's right.
Exactly. Alright, so we'll start off with Jackie. Yay or nay?
Yay.
Peter?
Yay.
I say nay. And so, at this point, if you want to not be spoiled, you need to pause this, watch it, and then come back, and then enjoy the discussion.
That's right. Because it sounds like this is going to be an interesting discussion.
Yes, because I'm big. The deep nay. Alright. For those who are not familiar about Mulan, it is a very similar story. A character named Mulan goes and joins the army instead of her father, saves China, right? Very simple story. We probably remember from our childhood, and it's a very similar story here. But...
Similar, but not like a carbon copy like some of the other Disney remakes.
It is not a carbon copy.
It's not The Lion King. Oh
no.
My gosh. Lion King, that was almost word for word carbon copy of the animated movie.
But CGI.
That's right. No, the live action.
I love how they go live action with CGI animals. You mean live action background?
I don't even think it was that.
Alright, shall we do interesting facts for Mulan?
Let's cue the facts!
Alright, Effa Liu, that's the main actress. I probably butchered the name, I apologize. I am horrible at names. She has performed 90% of all her stunts as Mulan. Horse riding, sword fighting, martial arts, and battle scenes. I wonder if she kicked the arrow herself or the spears.
Well, she probably did the kick. They probably added the arrow in later.
Okay.
That's probably what it was.
No, it's all real.
It's all real.
It's all real.
That made me chuckle. I thought I was like, okay. Here we go. To make the film more historically accurate, the enemy invaders are now the Roran army who lived the time and place of the original story instead of the Hun. Mm-hmm. Because if it was the Hun destroyed China.
Yeah, the Huns won.
And rolled all the way into Russia. Yeah. So, yeah, they changed the story there. The primary shooting location for the movie was New Zealand.
Okay.
With some scenes in China.
Yeah.
Because we all love New Zealand. It's just pretty.
It's a pretty country.
It's pretty.
It's gorgeous.
Most of your favorite movies were probably filmed in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
That have those grand landscapes.
So for the casting of the character Mulan, they went through 1,000 actresses.
I believe it.
They actually delayed the making of the movie to find the right Mulan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It kind of makes or breaks it, for sure. Like, your main character, like, you need to make sure that that's right. I think there have been prior times where they picked the wrong person to be the main character, and I think it affected the movie.
Do you have an example?
Lion King.
They should have got rid of Simba.
Well, I forget his name, but the guy who did the voice for Simba, the adult Simba, like,
Didn't do it.
it just didn't.
Isn't that the guy from Community?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Donald
Glover.
Glover,
That's it.
yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think he pulled it off. It was either that or Beyonce was too much. It was like either one or the other. But
I
like,
just love how they have Beyonce, but she doesn't really sing. She has one song.
she has her song.
Yeah.
But this isn't the Lion King discussion. This is the Mulan discussion.
Yes.
We keep going back to
I'm
the Lion
sorry,
King.
I asked a question.
Well, I brought up Lion King.
Okay.
So, that's my bad.
All right, Commander Tung and Chang Hong Hui are decomposite characters for Commanding Officer Li Shang. They did this because they didn't want Mulan falling in love for her superior because of the hashtag #MeToo movement. And so they were like, we're gonna change some things here.
I liked it better that way.
I thought it was more appropriate.
I think so. I
Because
think
you wouldn't have, like, a super young guy as, like, a commander or...
I don't know, maybe back then.
it could have been back then,
I think
but I think it was far more appropriate for her to. I mean, although they don't really like.
They don't insinuate.
They don't
part.
insinuate it,
They don't
but it's
really
definitely
focus it.
there
I think we projected on there that there is something there.
between her and her fellow soldier.
Yes.
Disney's done a big theme lately of like the heroine doesn't need to fall in love for
Correct.
the story to happen. That's a trend in the last, I'd say, like 5 to 8 years that
Yes.
we've done.
Frozen would be a prime example of that. with
Exactly.
Elsa.
Exactly. All right, the bad guy, played by Jason Scott Lee. This is his third Disney role. Can you name the other two?
Not at the top of my head.
No.
He played the voice of David in Lilo and Stitch.
Oh.
And
Okay.
he was in the first live-action 1994 Jungle Book, which I love.
That was great.
I love that Jungle Book.
I want that to come to Disney Plus so bad.
I think I bought it on Amazon and I got rid of it, and so I don't have the rights to watch it anymore. But
Oh.
I loved watching that. That movie got me into classical music. Because they play like
They do.
the Blue Dunham Hoop, I think that's what it's called. And after that, I was like, that's so pretty, and it just stuck with me. And I remember going through Dad's CD collection and like finding it and listening to it over and over. I'm pretty sure I broke the
No,
case.
I would definitely say that that's probably my favorite live action Disney movie was that '94 Jungle Book
Yeah,
movie
it's well done.
with adult Mowgli.
Yeah. I mean, so I just thought throw it out there, see if you guys remembered him, if he looked familiar. He's had kind of a quiet career, just little parts in there. Yep, and those are all the facts I've got. So let's start the initial feelings about watching Mulan. You said you were excited for it.
I was very excited for it, and, when they said it's not a musical, I was like, thank goodness.
Wow, that is a very. I know a lot more people that were upset by that.
I know a lot of people are upset, but I was like, if it's a live action, I want it to be kind of more realistic. And
Realistic.
Really?
we'll get to that. This was my prior expectation.
Okay. Alright.
So I was excited. I didn't want a musical. I didn't want, Aladdin type of, spin-off on it where you had Genie rapping and, just stuff like that. But as watching the film, love the beginning of it. It really like focused on like the purpose of like Mulan and her purpose of going to war for her father and stuff. And then towards the end, it kind of goes downhill.
Oh, we'll get into that. I'm sure we will. And Peter, you said you were excited.
I was, and I had a very similar like thought process of Jackie here that like it was definitely going to be realistic, more realistic. I know, again, we'll get into the weird stuff, but that happened when we did watch it. But I just felt like we needed something different after the last few remakes where they were musicals based off of the animated movies. I wanted a reason to watch this movie and not go, I wish I was watching the other Mulan.
Or Aladdin, or Lion King, or Lady in the Tramp.
Correct.
Yes.
Like, all the other ones made me go, okay, which one do I like more?
And we'll ask that question.
Yeah, I know you will, but instead of it being like, well, if I'm gonna watch one, I'd rather watch the other one. Whereas this one, I feel like I could watch either or because there's enough difference for me to enjoy each one for their own reasons.
Okay. I think that's something excited to like. Oh, can this be the other movie I want to watch?
Correct.
When I want a Mulan movie.
Like, if I'm not in the mood of a musical, I want an action flick. That would be a good pick.
Okay. For me, it's a big no. I hate the live action money grab movies that Disney's been doing. Somehow I get sucked into watching them. Somebody's like, let's go see this movie, and I go see it, and I'm going, well, that sucked. And everyone's like, I loved it, and I'd be like, nope, it sucked. You know, it's like, I just been so disappointed. I wish Disney would just give me back the money and time that they've given me with these type of movies. So when I saw Mulan come out, I'm all like, oh, great, another movie to be disappointed with, you know. And it's sad, because I'm always so happy with the media things, and this is just one of those things like, no creativity here. And that's what really, like, or creative, like, give me a new story. And I just haven't gotten those from the store, from the recent movies. And I think
I think you got more of that in this movie than in prior movies.
Yes.
There was some more originality in this one compared to other remakes.
I agree. There is more originality, a different twist on the story, but yeah, I was looking forward to it. I was like, oh, okay, we'll do this, and we'll see how it goes. All right, Jackie, let's start off with you. What did you like about this film?
So just to recap, yes, I like the beginning part. I don't know how I feel about, because in the animated feature, Mulan's very clumsy. Mm-hmm. And in the live-action film, she's not clumsy at all. She's pretty skilled.
She's a superhero.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
Which makes the whole scene of her running off and joining the army make a whole lot more sense.
It makes so much sense.
Mulan, who can't memorize anything and like, I'm clumsy and goofy. She's an actual person who can fight and has skill and ability, taking her father's place, that she could actually pass as a man, you know, fighting-wise.
But I kind of like that aspect in the cartoon where, you know, the whole song, Be a Man, or like they transform, and that's kind of the whole process of boot camp, is to break you down to nothing and build you up. And you saw that with her, you know, and so that shows you the effectiveness of that military training, was they did that. So I see where you're coming from, and it's like, oh, I think that's a good twist, and I don't have any issues when it comes to the other movie with that.
Yeah, and then, I'm trying to think what else I liked.
Some crickets.
Yeah, I just really like the beginning part. of it.
Is there like a specific scene in the beginning that you're like, oh, this is good? This sucks me in.
Was it that first scene where
The
she's
chicken?
hanging off the roof?
No. Actually, I didn't care for that. I was like, what teenage girl can, like, hang off the roof?
She's got chi, Jackie.
Oh, yes, the chi. I just like I thought they did a good job portraying, like, the overall theme of, like, honor to your family.
Yeah, they did do a good job, and like when they like would say truth, she would stay quiet. Like she was an honorable person,
Yes.
and
Like
like
she knew she was lying. She
I-
wasn't being truthful.
yeah,
So I think I really liked the actor that they picked, or the actress, and her character self. I enjoyed how they portrayed Mulan.
okay. I think they did a good job. Peter, what did you like about the film?
You know, I liked a lot of it. You know, like it might surprise you guys because like we all watched it together recently and we were all having fun. We were definitely poking fun of it most of the time.
There was a certain point in the film where it just became like Mystery Science Theater
It did.
3000.
It did. But I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. Because like even the hokey like kicking the arrow with your feet or like that was
The towel whips.
it was the towel whip because you got to realize that like that's a whole different like genre of movies. There's the whole kung fu, crouching tiger, hidden
Yes.
dragon. And so like if you go into the movie with that mindset of like it's this sort of movie, you can get past the hokey like that's not realistic how
Yes.
they
That's
can
true.
do these acrobats and perfect aiming with your feet to kick an arrow in somebody's heart. You know, like
You have to go in the movie. It's not a historical film. It's a
Correct.
historical fantasy
yes,
film.
Yes.
So don't get that confused. Like,
the bird lady. You know,
yeah,
the
when
lady who turns into a bird or birds plural.
yeah, and that kind of some mythology of that. But then it's the whole gravity-defying scenes, and we'll get into that more. That's what turns it into fantasy, and
Yes.
you have to get over that hill. And once you do, hopefully it's sooner, because if not, the movie will be ruined.
But like I really enjoyed a lot of the characters. The dad was really good. I loved the fact like his portrayal of him being so proud of his daughter and him not wanting to be like that like I'm a man and you're gonna he didn't want to
Yes.
be that role
He
to
was
her.
such a good dad.
He wanted to be that like kind father figure. So like I honestly loved almost all of the actors. I think they all did a
I
fantastic
enjoyed
job.
the sister too.
The sister was fun, and yeah, I felt like it was well written. Like yes, it's the same story. The avalanche kills the army and all that stuff. It's similar, but like I felt like they did a good enough job portraying it differently that like I really enjoyed it. And it's definitely a girl power movie as well, but it didn't come off as like that like stereotypical
Cheesy
girl
girl
power.
power.
Like that Avengers Endgame scene where
We
all
can
the
do it!
all the women
Stop what they're fighting so they can do this one scene.
do this pose where like we're the women and we're gonna like it didn't come off as that like
It
cheesy.
wasn't pushy.
It wasn't pushy. It felt natural.
I love this. I'm gonna be disagreeing with you on that, and I'll go
Okay,
into
that's-
it. But
that's
it's one of
fine.
those like I think that's where we do differ is how we see that narrative message really portrayed. But sorry to interrupt. I just like
I do enjoy like because like it's true that like in that time period women were second class
they
citizens.
had
Yes.
there was a role for them.
and they I thought they did a good job of portraying that. And you know, yeah, it's a bit modern take to be like, yeah, girl power during that time period, but I felt they did a good enough job that like it didn't take me out of the movie
Right.
like some other movies do when they do those sort of scenes. I loved that conflict between Mulan and the bird lady. where she's all like, I know who you are. You're lying to yourself. And, like, she calls her out on it. And it's only until and I love the reveal when comes out that she's a woman. It's not like, oh, the doctor saw me naked. It was, I'm choosing
On
to
my
come
terms,
out.
I'm
It's,
coming
she
out.
came out on her terms,
Okay.
and she became out as this ultimate superpower. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this movie.
So that was a good message. That is an empowering scene that you don't have to hide until it's revealed. All right, I'll go through my points real quick. I liked when the credits were rolling at the end of the film. I loved with the cheesy parallel scenes with Star Wars.
Yes, there was a lot of Star Wars parallels. A lot. Like, while we were watching it, we were quoting Star Wars so much.
The scene where it's all like when Mulan and the witch are discussing, and the witch, she's like, I see your chi, and it's just like, it's not as strong as mine, but if you join me,
It's too late for me.
we can join forces and rule the empire. And I was just like, Empire Strikes Back, Empire Strikes Back, Empire Strikes Back. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, whoever was writing this saw that scene. It's like, especially it was like, rule the empire. I was like, oh my god.
And then they had the whole scene with Mulan and her again, where she's all like, come with me. And she's like, it's too late for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Return of the Jedi, Darth Vader with his mask off,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
the dying sea. Yeah, that was just...
There was definitely a lot of...
Inspiration.
Yes.
And these are stories, I mean, Star Wars isn't the first original for
No,
those, but it's
sure.
one of those, like,
It's
it's
the
the most
most iconic.
predominant
Yes.
that we and our family know. And if you don't know that, listen to the Star Wars podcast and you'll get to know that. So, moving on from that point, I did like the overall message, like, don't hide your chi.
Yeah.
You know, it's who you are. You know, own it. You know, use your strengths to your advantage. Thought visually stunning, cinematography was on point.
Absolutely.
I love the shots.
Yes.
I thought that was just, I was like blown away. You know, if you want to watch a pretty movie, it's good.
You can tell they wanted this movie to be big.
It
And
was-
it's a shame
yes.
that
COVID.
COVID came out and it killed its cinematic.
I bet it would have been
ability.
beautiful in the theater.
So, in which, I don't know, we might talk about this later, but I think their end goal was to set up a series of movies for Mulan. I don't think that the intention of this movie was
Barry
a one
the
and
Fairy
done.
makes a cinematic return.
I think... Yes.
Captain Hook is coming for Mulan.
That's right, I forgot about that. That's
You
right.
could never forget Barry the Fairy.
But, like, I honestly felt like they were setting up for a series of films centered on the character of Mulan. That was the impression I was getting, the way they were writing this
I
movie.
can see them going that direction. I can.
And if none of you don't know what Barry the Fairy is, go back to our podcast episode of
Movie
Mashup,
Movie mashup.
and you'll understand.
You'll understand the inside joke there. I do that. I like to reference old conversations. It makes it fun. Okay, I like the boot camp scene. It was very, very well done with the interactions, the camaraderie, the horseplay with men.
I thought it was very
good.
realistic.
It is realistic. It's like that. Just the horseplay, the teasing, the making fun of each other, and no one really taking it personally. Like, yeah, you hurt a little bit, but then you're like, it's just a game. These are my brothers. And I like that. That was well done. And then there's the nervousness before war. There's always like that, like unsettling, like, oh, we're going outside the wire feeling. That's there. And there's the nervousness. And I like the message where it's like the father said, you can't have courage without fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's great. I thought that was a great message.
It was.
And then finally, I like the villains, the nomadic tribe look. They looked great and fierce, kind of like Darth Maul. And they are like Darth Maul, because that's going to lead us into things we did not like about this film. Jackie.
I wish they would develop her fellow soldier team. I can't think of the right term. But
Her squad mates.
her squad mates' characteristics a little bit more, because you got that a lot more in the animated. Their characteristic and their personalities, and I felt like that was a little bit lacking.
And I think I know why.
It's the songs. Songs do that.
The songs did that, but I think they needed, because they were going this different direction with Mulan, in the source of like chi, they had to explain that. And that was their focus, was understand.
Yes.
They were world building, which is,
It's tough.
again, they were setting up for future movies, which I think if they're going to make another one, you're going to get more of what you're saying. You're going to get more of that development, that brotherhood amongst.
What's the next film going to be? Return of the Chi?
Return of the Chi. No, the Chi Strikes Back.
The Chi Strikes Back?
The Chi Strikes Back.
Trademark.
It got the action got very cheesy at the end.
Towel whips.
The towel whips.
It was fun.
The running on the wall.
Yes, running on the wall. I love how they have these angle walls.
Yes.
And I go, did they build these just to run up the walls?
Of course. Everybody knows that Cricket would have died. Like, you just look at the guy and you're like, that guy, there's no way that guy. That guy had, like, a spinning, like, mace, and, like, he dies. And it's like, really? And, like, the spin around, like, oh, shoot an arrow behind my back.
He's lucky, okay?
Yes.
He's lucky.
Yeah, he's lucky he's alive at the end of this film. Very, very true. Yes.
I liked, I forgot to mention one thing I did like. I like the phoenix.
You like the spirit animal?
The spirit animal over, like, Mushu, which is controversial, but I did like the phoenix. I thought it was a more natural thing than a Mushu.
It was subtle, and it didn't overpower or take the story. It's like, here's a little nudge to help you. And I think that's like what a spirit animal does, is kind of nudges you a little bit in the right direction, instead of just all like, rise and shine, Mulan, get your eggs and bacon on, you know, like.
The issue I have with the Phoenix is that I don't know if the Phoenix was there or not. Like, was the Phoenix there, or was it just like figurative?
I think it's. I think it is.
That's the part I
maybe
didn't
another
really
spectrum.
understand.
Like it's there. Like another.
Was it something that
dimensional-
only Mulan could see, or was it something that it was just the spirit, or was it an actual phoenix? I don't know.
It's
And
an
I don't think-
interdimensional spiritual animal, and that Mulan has the ability to see that with the power of the chi.
So that was probably my biggest gripe with the Phoenix, is that I just didn't know if it was like real, figurative, mystical. I didn't know.
I don't know if that really mattered, if that was
It
real
did.
or
It doesn't.
mystical.
But it did make me go like, can she see this thing? Does she see this thing flying behind her, making her look like a phoenix again? Like there were just parts. It's hot.
what's going on?
Because like I
Flash.
don't see like, for example, in that final scene where like the phoenix is behind her with the wings. Like, is he reacting to her or the phoenix? I don't know. Like what?
Yeah.
And that kind of took me out a little bit.
It takes you because you're trying to figure out what is just playing the fantasy. Because
Yes.
you are in this world of fantasy, and
Correct.
you're like, is this? Yeah, it's not explained well. That's a good point. I just didn't care for it. I didn't care for. I mean, I liked what you brought up, like, you know, the nudging of it, and but
The message of what the phoenix represents, it's beautiful and all that. I just again,
it's a low. It's not a big theme that they're pushing here.
correct.
I think it's more of like you said. It's like we've got Mushu, but and it's part of the culture, but
Yes.
it's yeah, it's not really pushed.
Yeah.
So what is it that you didn't like? You talked about the
Right.
phoenix. You like
Yeah.
the phoenix.
So I didn't care for the bird lady. Didn't care for her character.
I'm with you on that. The witch really
The
killed it for me.
witch. I mean, she did some cool things, but I don't know. Didn't care for it. She probably could have been gone, and the movie would have been fine.
She was a bad antagonist. I think it feeds the.
I think the point of the bird lady was to show Mulan the other side.
Yeah.
I think
The
that
dark
was
side.
the
The dark
the
side.
dark side. Again, a lot of Star Wars overtones here. But it was literally to show her that, like, you can choose to rebel and be like me, or you can do what you're going to do and die.
But was she rebelling? Because she was submissive to the establishment.
Because she knew in the end she could take him. She could kill him.
But why didn't
easily.
she?
Because she needed him to take control so that she could take him.
Then why did she really help Mulan in the end? Because she's like, you know what, this girl's got it going on. Let me help her and like put my empire at risk right here.
Because goodness wins overall.
I guess that's what your story is. But in reality, if you're that power driven and you're willing to kill people left and right, just because you meet one girl with chi that really is gonna like, you know what, you flipped me. I'm on your side. I've slaughtered thousands of people, and right now, at this point, I'm dead.
I don't think that's what it was. I think she may have come to the realization that she may have been wrong about how she was going about it, and that's why she ended up helping and saving Mulan's life. But
I see the storyline of her like she's trying to be accepted and seeking the approval of these guys. And she's being fed the lie of like, oh, we're equal, but then behind closed doors at the boy party, they're like, nah, I'm just using that girl because
it's again Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader. It's literally what it is.
Until it's time to get rid of them.
Darth Vader could have probably easily killed Palpatine, but Palpatine's pulling the puppet strings and like manipulating everything. I just thought it was.
I thought the two antagonists, her and Jason Lee's character, they hindered each other from being a good bad guy.
Yes, there wasn't like a super strong bad guy.
Yeah, and I guess the internal battle is not really those bad guys. They're the vehicle to the end of the real battle. Is how we perceive. A woman with chi.
Yes.
A woman in this society and their contribution, that we shouldn't just behead her because she actually has good intelligence.
But yes, I do, unlike the animated film where, like, the villain is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, you're just like, oh, he's evil. His
well,
eyes.
I think, again, the reason why they didn't go all out on the villain was because they were world building. And the next movie would have an even bigger, badder bad guy. Yeah. That's again, I keep harping on this second movie thing, but I honestly feel like that's where they were going to go.
I don't see they're going to do a second movie.
Well, I agree. They probably won't now.
So unfortunately, they put the cart before the ox, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And that's what really bit them.
In the case of the villains, I would agree. The villains were not up to par with the story, per se. So yeah, I would agree the villains were on the lacking side. But I do believe the intent was to build into the next villain.
So what else, Peter, what else did you dislike about the film?
It's hard to say. Like, I usually am very negative about movies, but this one, like...
You're really holding on.
I really am. Like, I really enjoyed this movie. Like, yeah, were there, like, silly, nonsense things? Yes. But I can kind of look past that because every movie...
Can you look past the part where Mulan catches the chicken?
Okay.
I think funny is, like, we have to show her catching the witch who's dying.
Flying in the
I just
air.
saw it, like, that was like her catching a chicken.
Again, yeah, there were little scenes that probably could have been directed better, that were a little hokey and cheesy, like her catching the bird lady as she's falling to her death. Like, yeah, that was kind of...
Well, she had practice because at the beginning of the movie she was chasing
the
chicken.
See? It's all important.
All comes together.
It all comes together. She got the chicken in the coop. But, I really like this movie, so I don't have too much negative to say about it, because I really like the world that was built.
Okay. And where it was going.
Per se.
Okay.
Not that we're going to get that expanded world, unfortunately, because obviously it didn't.
There's some great movies like Tron and The Rocketeer, movies where you're just like, I want more, but it just didn't do well, and it happens. And this may be falling in that category. All right, I'm gonna rapid fire some of the dislikes I have. I hate how one bad tea party dishonors your whole family. There's no understanding, and then the dramatic when she brings honor, the pettiness of the lady, like, oh, I'm fainting because she's.
Well, honestly, I think that's realistic. That's probably how they were.
I agree, but again, it's just
because that's their world.
It is their world, and for me, it was just like, it's unfortunate that there was a time, and it's hard to digest that there was a time where everything hinged on one meal. And it's like, wow, I'm glad we've moved on from that point. But just seeing it, just like, it was an eye roll, kind of like, all right, didn't care for it. The antagonists, like I said, were weak story arcs. The witch flip-flopping. I didn't care for the scene that you loved where it's just Mulan and her.
Yeah,
because I see the scene before, and I'm coming from military strategy where it's like, Mulan goes out there, and then everyone dies, except for 2 guys run away, but she's like, no, I've got to continue on. And so like, she's Rambo now, all right.
Yeah, she is.
And eventually she does.
We've already established she's a superhero. Yeah. I will admit, the whole scene of her like by herself wandering through the canyon comes out of nowhere.
I was like, okay.
I will say that like her just like, I am now in this canyon looking for 2 people.
Yes.
And were those the bad guys? Were those the lead? Like,
yeah.
Okay, they were, and she was just pursuing them, thinking that her chi was going to take out 8 dudes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so, like, she just happened to fall in this canyon, and the bird lady was there waiting for her. So I will concede that point that like the setup to that scene was not done well.
Mm-hmm.
I will agree.
And my thing was, there's this whole battle going, and you have this witch that's there to protect you, and she's like, let me mess with Mulan right now and talk about chi. And so that's why I was like, that's why the build-up, and then this whole purpose, I was like, right now there's a huge battle. They need you. And like, I kept coming at it from a military, like, point of view, going like, no. And yeah, I understand where Mulan takes off her armor, but again, you're going to battle.
Yeah, I didn't like that
armor
either.
so you could see that I am a woman. It's like, women still wear armor. They need to wear it. It's a battle.
I'll agree.
She's has her whole chi, so she's.
I kept thinking it's like, okay, she's a Jedi.
That was definitely more on the cinematic realism than real realism. Because, like in real life, she would probably still have on her armor and do all the amazing things that she does. But because it's a movie, she's got to be dramatic and like, yes, it's a woman who's going to come and dominate the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so.
I didn't like, the scene where Mulan comes back and he's like, hey, they've already like kicked her out.
Yeah.
And then she's like, if you come back, we're gonna kill you. And then she comes back and it's like, you guys are fighting the wrong fight. They've already gone to the Emperor and they're going to kill him. And they're like, we need to kill her. And then, so these are the general and commander that are like, they've made minds like, hey, we told you, we gave you mercy, but you came back and we've got to do what we got to do. And then these like 4 little privates that learned, these little like newly enlisted guys going, I believe her, I believe her, I believe. There is no way ever a general or commander would listen to 4 little guys that are going, I'll vow for her. When it's like, who are you guys again? I don't know who you are. And
the way I took it was that those soldiers validated the general's feelings, his initial thoughts about her. Because he was impressed by her skill and ability and her chi. And those soldiers saying, like, we'll stand by her. There's no difference into who... So, like, it was more of, like, him coming to terms with the realization that, like, it doesn't matter who, like, that it's a girl and I told her to go away. Like, she's here to help. Let's work together to save to save China.
Yeah, and I I get that. I see that point of view, but then they let her lead the attack, and I'm like, okay.
I get, yeah.
And that's why I was all like,
I get it.
again, from my point of view, I was like, this. It's like when I'm watching a war movie, and like they're like, we're in Iraq, and there's palm trees on fire, and I'm like, I didn't see any palm trees out there, like.
But again,
it just takes me out.
Again, the movie's called Mulan, so
you have to.
You have to put Mulan in the front.
And for me, I came in it negatively, and I'm projecting my dislike for these style of movies, and what you're getting is the deep nay for this film, because these points took me out and didn't keep me in, but I may have been already out before this even started. So take my opinion, grain of salt. All right, we are going to move on to live action or cartoon. Which one do you prefer? And then we'll go into, and then give it your rating with it as well.
Cartoon, for sure. And then I would rate the live action movie, probably 3 Mickey bars.
Whoa, 3 Mickey bars.
I would say it's a better live action movie compared to other live action.
So you're basing it not on overall as a movie, but based on comparison of other live action films.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Why don't you go?
Me?
Yes, you go.
Okay, I give it 1 Mickey bar.
That's a lot of hate.
That's a lot.
I originally had 1.5, but as I go through, it's like no, like
You're sticking to
I'm like I'm going low. I always start with 1, and I always go like down half a 1 or up half a 1, and I've gone down as I've discussed this. Yes, I prefer Mulan the cartoon. I actually give that 4 Mickey bars. If that turns on, I will watch that and I will enjoy it. Be a Man with Donny Osmond and Mushu. I love it all.
The animated film is 10 times better.
The music's great. I love how they infused it in this film, but the only thing that gives it 1 Mickey bar for me is the cinematography. And they did do a good job in picking the actors and actresses for this film. I like their characters. I just don't like their play in the story. Okay. And so I'm a 1 Mickey bar. Peter, save this film. Disney's they need you in this moment. You're our only hope. Peter Yodeler.
Get ready for this. 4 Mickey bars.
Whoa!
4 Mickey bars. That's how much I like this movie.
Whoa.
Like, I know when we were watching it together, I was there with you guys joking, making fun of it the whole time, but honestly, like, it was so good. Like, and the way I look at it, I could put this movie, the reason why I gave it 4 is that I'd be willing to go out of my way to put this movie on.
Okay, that's a good indicator of
if I'm at the point where like I can be like I'm in the mood for something like this, I'll put it on. That's usually my indication. If it's above 3, I have to need to be able to put it on by myself, wanting to.
Yeah. When
it comes to the cartoon's really good. And so, like, it's hard for me to compare the two because they are so differently.
They are different.
Because the cartoon is more, obviously, there's the music, and it's more comedy-driven. Whereas this one's more action and story-driven. And so, like, yes, it's the same story, quote-unquote story.
Bare bones story.
Bare bones story, but it's so different that I can enjoy both separately.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I won't go into too much detail about why I love it because I think I've said I've said quite a bit. So that's why I give it 4 Mickey bars out of 5. Okay. So
thank you, Yodelers, for coming out to this Mulan review. I don't think we've been so polarized on a film like this one is.
I knew it was going to be intense based off of how well you guys were reacting to it when we watched it together. I was all like, they're going to put low numbers on this thing, and I'm going to put high numbers on this thing.
I think that's great that you see something great and beautiful about this movie, and you're willing to watch it again.
Yep.
And that's why the director is created for movies, people that like these type of movies for the fans. And they created movies like this for me to dislike them. Because that's what we do in my camp. We dislike them. Thank you again for listening to us. Please follow us on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and reach out to us on Gmail, our Matterhorn Yodelers at gmail.com. Taking suggestions. We've actually gotten a suggestion, and we're going to do that for a podcast. So please interact with us. If you want us to discuss something that you think is kind of fun and you're kind of curious on our perspective, please reach out to us. We like good ideas and bad ideas.
Yes, we do.
All right. So until then, auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.